There are battles that fill entire chapters of history books. And then there are moments, just a few seconds long. Moments that decide who lives and who becomes a name carved into stone. During World War II, one such moment arrived. A moment when the sky exploded with fire. The ground trembled under the weight of German steel, and almost every Allied unit dove for cover. Every unit except one, the Americans. While the British scrambled for trenches, while the French ducked behind broken walls, and while the Canadians dropped to the ground to assess the threat, the Americans stood up and counterattacked. Today, you will hear the story of that moment, a story forged in snow, fire, fear, and fury. A story that answers the question, why did the Americans counterattack instantly, while the rest of the Allies took cover first? December 1944. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. A place so cold, so silent, that even breath froze before it left your lips. The Allied troops were exhausted, some warming their hands near small fires, some reading letters from home, and some trying to dry their soaking boots. Then, at 5:30 a.m., the world shattered. German artillery unleashed over 1,600 guns at once. The earth shook, the snow turned to steam, and the peaceful forest became a storm of fire. British troops shouted, "Take cover!" Canadian units dived into trenches. French soldiers scrambled back to defensive positions. But in the middle of that chaos, 26-year-old American Lieutenant Haskins stood tall and roared, "Get up! Counterattack! Right now!" His men were stunned, but they obeyed. Because in the American doctrine, you never wait for the enemy to finish his attack. You hit him before he expects you to. Most armies teach one basic rule. Incoming fire? Take cover. But the Americans trained differently. Their doctrine was called immediate aggressive response, meaning if the enemy fires, fire back instantly. If the enemy attacks, counterattack immediately. Cover is secondary. Initiative must always stay in your hands, because the U.S. Army believed a stopped army dies, a moving army survives. Why did they think this way? 3 reasons shaped this mindset. 1. The painful lesson of World War I. In World War I, Allied soldiers stayed in trenches for months and still died in unimaginable numbers. So the Americans swore, no more trench warfare, never again. 2. American culture, bold, risk-taking men. The U.S. Army was filled with farmers, ranch workers, factory laborers, rough, resilient men. These were people who grew up taking risks every day. Their belief was simple: retreat only when you're dead. 3. Freedom to make split-second decisions. American officers, even the lowest ranked, were allowed to make their own decisions in combat. They didn't need to wait for orders. They acted. This made their reaction time lightning fast, faster than any other Allied force. So why did the British, French, and Canadians take cover? Because their doctrines, their histories, and their pains were different. 1. Britain. Protect lives first. Britain lost 700,000 soldiers in World War I. That trauma shaped their entire military thinking. Save manpower first, then fight. 2. France. The defensive tradition. France was emotionally and militarily shattered after World War I. Their army philosophy was defend first, counterattack only when sure. 3. Canadians. Discipline over aggression. Canadian forces are precise, controlled, and methodical. Their rule is assess, then act. This is why they took cover first, to evaluate the threat before engaging. Back to the snow-covered Ardennes forest, German panzers emerged from the fog, advancing through the trees like armored ghosts. British units began a controlled retreat. French troops fell back to regroup, but the Americans, they planted their boots in the snow and prepared to strike back. Major Allen shouted into the radio, "Hold the line! Hit them back! Do not surrender ground!" And what followed is now one of the most shocking counterattacks in World War II history. Scene 1. The fog fight. Dense fog. Distant engine roars. A Panther tank crawling forward. An American squad quietly flanks through the trees. The Germans expected the Americans to hide. Instead, they attacked. The first rocket slammed into the tank. The explosion melted the snow beneath it. Flames lit up the forest. The German commander was stunned. Scene 2. Close quarter chaos. As German troops pushed forward, American paratroopers burst out from behind trees and opened a crossfire. German radios crackled with panic. "Amerikaner greifen sofort an!" Americans are attacking immediately. Their commander yelled back, "Impossible! They should be taking cover!" But no, the Americans were charging straight at them. Scene 3. The turning point. The German advance collapsed. Their strategy broke. Their morale cracked. A German officer later admitted, "We thought we were ambushing them, but they ambushed us." 4 reasons set the Americans apart. 1. Fire and maneuver. One team fired, the other flanked. Fast, precise, deadly. 2. Decentralized command. Americans didn't wait for orders from high command. They acted. This made their reaction time lightning fast, faster than any other Allied force. 3. High morale and fresh troops. Other allies had been fighting for 5 long years. Americans were fresh, energetic, motivated. 4. Limitless resources. Ammo, food, supplies. America had it all, enough to sustain continuous counterattack. After the Ardennes battle, one British war correspondent wrote, "When we took cover, the Americans stood up and walked into the smoke." A Canadian captain said, "We fight smart, but they fight like thunder." And a German soldier joked, "When bullets fly, we duck. Americans rise." And a German officer confessed in his diary, their counterattacks were not tactical, they were psychological. They made us doubt ourselves. Americans didn't counterattack because they were reckless. They counterattacked because they believed one thing: if you pause, you die. If you strike immediately, the enemy loses his courage even before he loses his soldiers. That philosophy created a legend, a reputation still remembered by soldiers across the world. The Americans never wait. They strike back instantly.